This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it is. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. We learned about more alternate endings and more deleted scenes from Avengers Endgame, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. There's a new round of that Spider-Man Far From Home IMAX ticket giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a Spider-Man or Avengers comment on the video. So obviously careful for spoilers for Avengers Endgame if you haven't seen the movie yet. There's a whole bunch of these scenes, so we'll just do this top 15 style, starting with number 15, an alternate ending for Iron Man versus Thanos' fight. When Iron Man yoinks all the Infinity Stones when Thanos isn't looking from the original Stark Tech Gauntlet to his own armor suit, and he says, "I am Iron Man." Very iconic line. In the original version of that scene, he was going to give him the middle finger and drop an epic F-bomb. Robert Downey Jr. actually had to be talked into saying, "I am Iron Man." Originally, he didn't want to say that line, but while they were shooting it and while they were editing it, they went out to dinner with some of the producers, and another one of their friends, who just happened to be Joel Silver, a very powerful producer in Hollywood, told Robert Downey Jr., "You absolutely have to say that line, 'I am Iron Man.'" And so Robert Downey Jr. was convinced. They went right away and shot it, and that's how it wound up in the movie, which I think is much better than the alternative, even though it's really cool to see Iron Man drop an F-bomb to Thanos in a Marvel movie. Number 14, Iron Man originally went to Asgard with Thor during the events of Thor the Dark World so they could steal both the Reality Stone Aether and the Tesseract Space Stone, because for a little while during the events of that movie there were 2 Infinity Stones on Asgard. They've been keeping the Tesseract there ever since the first Avengers film. They had a huge Iron Man versus Heimdall fight with the younger version of Heimdall. Lebowski Thor would have faced off against his younger self, but Idris Elba wasn't available, and there was going to be a much longer scene with Natalie Portman, because she's barely in the final version of the movie. But there were a lot of other things that they changed about what they were doing with this version of Thor during Endgame. So that also changed some of the things that they did during the Thor the Dark World scenes. Originally, he didn't spend quite as much time with his mother, so they leaned a little bit harder to that in the final version of the film. 13, there was a scene where they're in the lobby of the Avengers Tower in the middle of the movie with the Tesseract, and instead of Robert Redford's Alexander Pierce in the Hydra characters, it's a younger version of Nick Fury in Maria Hill that were trying to take the Tesseract from this version of Iron Man. Number 12, the original final battle scene was way, way longer. They said it had its own 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, because it was so big, like a movie within a movie, just for the final battle. They said a lot of that might wind up on the Blu-ray, but after Hulk snaps everyone back and Doctor Strange and Wong portal everyone to the battlefield to help Captain America, there was originally a much, much longer moment when all the heroes who've come back to life meet with the Avengers who are still there in a series of trenches to catch up on what's going on and make a much more elaborate battle plan. But they said it slowed things way, way down because it turned into an endless series of reunions with all the characters. We actually have some video of this because Chris Evans was posting from behind the scenes. So this is him just videoing them in between takes of them in the trenches.
This is what all the flowers on this one.
I don't know that. Oh my god, this is pretty.
Mine for you.
It's just by itself. You know what?
I'm just
There was a scene of Iron Man going into the soul world of the Soul Stone after he snaps all of Thanos' people away, just like Thanos from Infinity War went into the soul world after he snapped everyone the first time. Thanos wound up talking to a younger version of Gamora, a piece of her soul, but Iron Man wound up talking to an adult version of his daughter, Morgan Stark, played by none other than Catherine Langford. Everybody wondered last year what she was doing in the movie. There were so many theories, but mystery solved. She's playing an older version of Morgan Stark. They spent a lot of time filming those scenes. Maybe they'll also release that on the Blu-ray. The whole point of the scene was meant to be a mirror for Thanos' scene with young Gamora where she says, "Did you do it? What did it cost?" And he says everything. The Iron Man version of the scene with Morgan Stark was meant to be a little more positive and make him feel better about sacrificing his life to save everyone, because he knew that he was going to die. As cool as it sounds, the reason why they said they deleted it is because test audience were too confused by adult Morgan Stark. They didn't recognize that it was supposed to be her, and it completely destroyed the point of the scene. It completely took them out of the movie. Number 10, speaking of young Thanos, there were a lot more scenes of younger Thanos showing you how much more powerful he was than older Thanos from Infinity War, because this was supposed to be a Thanos in his prime at peak physical condition. The reason why they explain older Thanos from Infinity War was weaker is because when he starts his quest for the stones, it takes him a couple years to work up to that. He stops training the way that he used to, so he's not getting the conditioning, and he sort of puts down a lot of his weapons. Like he has this giant blade that he fights them with, because it's still younger Thanos going around planet to planet, erasing half of all life the old school way, just doing it one planet at a time. They also explained that by the end of Infinity War, Thanos, the older version of Thanos, has grown weaker because each of the Infinity Stones sap a little bit of his life force when he adds them. That's part of the idea that only Thanos and Hulk are powerful enough to survive the Gauntlet itself, because even just one Infinity Stone is almost too much for a normal person. 9, there was another version of the final scene where Thor names Valkyrie Queen of Asgard, but it was a little too comedic, so they cut it. It was Thor leaning in to try and kiss her after she thanks him for naming her queen. She winds up bashing him on the head. I'm actually glad that they cut that, because the Thor scene with the Guardians of the Galaxy at the end was funny enough, as Guardians of the Galaxy. 8, there was an extra scene of Spider-Man and Hulk during Iron Man's funeral scene at the end where Spider-Man was going full science bros with Professor Hulk, but it got cut obviously because it was meant to be a really serious moment reflecting on Iron Man's passing, so total tonal mismatch. 7, there was an entire subplot with Black Widow between the snap in the beginning of Avengers Endgame where she was sort of shut in the Avengers facility and wasn't leaving, but she had been running a special program to find homes for all the orphans of people who had lost their parents to have been snapped. Because it was a random, a lot of kids would wind up losing both of their parents, so you just have a lot of little kids running around amongst these ashes just wondering what the hell's going on. 6, there was a whole big different sequence of Ant-Man visiting a bunch of different cities after he came back. So he visits the memorial and they just cut it at that. After that, he would have gone to a bunch of different places to see what was going on. Thor originally doubled down on his vengeance. Remember, he was out for revenge against Thanos at the beginning of Infinity War after he killed Loki and half of his people. So originally, they were going to have him go down a more Hawkeye path, where he goes way more hardcore, he gives himself a crazier buzz cut, but they decided to take him down the trauma route because they were already doing Ronin with Hawkeye, and they didn't want to be redundant like that. So for a very brief period, you had really, really crazy out there Thor. 5, the Hawkeye scene at the opening of the movie was supposed to happen at the end of Infinity War. Remember when we're going around to all the characters after the snap happens and you see their friends or their loved ones get snapped away? Hawkeye was going to watch his family die, but they moved that to the beginning of Avengers Endgame because Jeremy Renner said the whole reason why he wasn't in Infinity War is because he wanted to take a year off to be with his family. So he asked them to write him out of Infinity War. So big Hawkeye mystery solved. Everybody, all the memes wondering, where is Hawkeye? Why isn't he in the movie? Turns out Jeremy Renner asked them to do that so that he could have a break before they started Endgame. 4, more Hawkeye deleted scenes. Hawkeye was originally supposed to die on Vormir. When they're battling it out to see who's going to sacrifice themselves for the Soul Stone and they go back and forth, originally Hawkeye was going to die. The way they rationalized the choice of Black Widow, though, is they said that Black Widow wouldn't let him sacrifice himself because he still had his family to care for. 3, there's a different scene of them breaking into the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters to steal the Tesseract instead of them going back to 1977. So originally the plot of Iron Man going back to have that moment with his father, because that's the whole reason that they go back to the 70s, so that he can have that moment with Howard Stark. But I think it's way better in the way that they did it during the final version of the movie, and you get that really cool Stan Lee cameo. 2, there was a scene where they travel to Doctor Strange's apartment before he became Sorcerer Supreme. Remember when Hulk goes to the Ancient One, she says, "You're a couple years too early. Doctor Strange is a couple blocks down the street at the hospital." There was a scene where they were supposed to go cross town to go to his apartment. In number 1, there was a huge, big underwater set piece on Morag when they went to get the Power Stone during the events of the first Guardians film. I think the idea is that they went back too far and the water had not receded, because remember, up until the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy film, that area had been submerged underwater, so I think that they just traveled back to the wrong place, and that's why they had to go underwater to get the Power Stone. They also did say, a bit of a bonus item, that Professor Hulk was supposed to be a thing during Avengers Infinity War, and it would have been a bigger moment, but they decided just to push it to Avengers Endgame. But let me know in the comments, what's your favorite deleted scene, and what are you hoping that they put on the Blu-ray? But what'll happen is we're getting ready for Comic-Con next month, where we'll learn about what's going on during Marvel Phase 4, D23, all the Disney Plus Avengers TV shows, the Star Wars Mandalorian TV show. I'll be doing videos for all that stuff, but leave your requests in the comments below. Congratulations to the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video, One's Might. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Click here for that brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer and some Venom news, and click here for my new Avengers 5 Marvel Phase 4 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys